Welcome to the Profit Lifestyle for Fitness Entrepreneurs podcast. My name is Scott Carpenter. I am a personal trainer turned multiple gym owner and investor who's already been through the rock bottom and near bankruptcy in the fitness business. But I've been lucky enough to come out the other side and have turned the profits of my fitness business into indestructible wealth. I'll be sharing the no bullshit strategies, tactics, and advice to win big in business and in life. So if you're a gym owner, a personal trainer, or an online coach who wants to make multiple six figures in take-home profit and have the freedom with your time to actually enjoy it, subscribe now to this podcast. This is the show for you. All right, welcome everybody. Welcome to the Profit Lifestyle. I'm your host, Scott Carpenter. With me, as always, Andy Boy Miller. And today we are going to talk about how to improve your sales retention through the power of story. And every time I mention this, the people that we work with, it's so powerful. Like, oh my God, are you recording this? Can you send this to me? Because I need to remember to say these things or do these things. And yes, we do record them and send them to you. But, and this is something that, like, there's a lot of trainings out there on sales, on coaching, on fulfillment, and it's tactical. There's strategy, there's tactics, there's objection handling, there's this, there's that. The best people who sell all have one thing in common, and is that they tell a lot of stories, big or small. Mm-hmm. And you've heard this before. You've probably read 10 marketing books that talk about it, and we read it, we nod and understand, but like we don't realize it, or we don't really figure out how to put it in, right? But human beings, we learn and get inspired and motivated to take action through story.
That's really what it comes down to, right? Like when we talk about really doing anything, being motivated to do anything, it's an emotional response, right? Like most people buy off of an emotional response. Most people do something off of emotional response. Very, very few of us are logic driven, and very few humans just in general are logic driven. And that's the thing that makes stories so powerful, is it's emotional, right? Yeah. It allows somebody to connect on a emotional level, place themselves inside that story a lot of the time, envision themselves, and then go, I want to do that. That's me. Like I can do that, right? And that's what makes this so powerful.
Yep. Guys, stories have been told since the beginning of time, the beginning of mankind, on cave paintings and this we learn through story. But more importantly, it's not just learning. Learning without taking action does nothing for us. We have to take action on it. And story's what drives that, right? And so you can work that in. A story, guys, can be 2 or 3 sentences when you have somebody on the phone. It can be 2 or 3 paragraphs in writing. It can be 2 or 3 minutes, but it can be very short or a lot longer. But story is what, like Andy said, it ignites emotions, it drives people and compels people to want to change. Who doesn't love a good movie?
Yeah.
Right? Like movies, stories, everything on TV, it's all stories. And so you need to learn how to work these in and practice at working these in, both on sales and fulfillment, because damn, it's, especially in our industry, when we talk about fitness, when we talk about health, it's difficult. And I kind of opened up with that. Like this is just, I'll give an example of a story that I told on stage to hook people in. And I was actually on stage. There's probably like 175 gym owners there. And I wanted to hook their attention. And I had a twist in this story too, which you'll kind of see. But you can actually use this story for yourself, believe it or not, for your own clients. But bottom line is I got up on stage, I was speaking to a bunch of gym owners, and I said how, hey, I haven't worked inside of my gyms in quite a few years, which is the truth, right? But there's one memory that I had that sticks me like it just happened yesterday. And it was when I met with a client named John. He came in for a consultation. John was in his 50s, definitely significantly overweight, right? He was somebody who, you can tell, time has not been kind to him. He is not taking care of himself, right? But he's also one of those guys. Do you know how you meet somebody and just after a few minutes, you feel like you've known them your whole life? Right?
You just click and like conversation flows so easily.
Absolutely. It's just somebody like, man, your sense of humor is on point.
Yeah.
And it's just like, man, this is like an old friend. And he was one of those guys. And it's just one of those people when we work with a lot of different kinds of people, but sometimes when you meet somebody like that, you're like, oh my God, this person's going to be like the best client ever. We're going to have amazing time in here, right? We're going to brighten each other's day. We're going to share some awesome jokes. It's something where it's going to brighten the days of people everywhere around them, right? Because that sense of humor and everything, just a positive person. And I'm glad that you found me. I'm glad that you came in here. I'm glad I get to train you because I know that you're going to be here for years and this is going to be awesome. He was that guy.
Yep.
But sadly, I couldn't get him to cross the line. I couldn't get him to start.
Sometimes.
And it happens. And it wasn't because he didn't want to. It's not because it was a no. It was just he had things coming up, right? He had this work stuff. He had his daughter's wedding, right? And it wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when. But I couldn't get him across. And so, follow up for him, right? Touching base and getting him in the future and all that kind of lead nurture. That wasn't a chore. Because is that kind of relationship, right? We're sending jokes or funny memes or whatever it is over the next several months. And, this is the problem with fitness too, with everything with health and fitness, there's just no urgency, right? Because
I'll do it when there's time. I'll do it when I can fit it, when I have money. I'll do it. There's every excuse in the book to put it off.
Every excuse. Because obviously, like, hey, the weight, his blood results, he knows it, I know it, right? We know we got to make a change, great. But there's no urgency because, diabetes doesn't kill you tomorrow or next week or next month or next year. It takes years, decades sometimes, right? And there's no urgency. It's very easy to kick that can down the road for days, months, years at a time. We all know that. That's why we struggle to get people in or get people started because there's just no urgency with it. I can get to it later. And it's time, it's money, it's budget, there's a lot going on right now, blah, blah, blah. But it's that someday mentality that's the most insidious of all. It's like someday when it's better timing, when work settles down, after these trips, after I get over my daughter's wedding, right? When my schedule returns to normal, once I get done paying down whatever, then. But next month turns into next year turns into the following, so on and so forth. And so I was following up with John. Yeah. And I was following up with John and at one time, and then I didn't hear back in a normal time frame and everything. And a few days later, I got the response not from John, but from John's wife. And John didn't have someday because she informed me that he died of a heart attack. That someday didn't come for John. Nope. That someday didn't come for John. And it was really sad, right? Because it's just we didn't have that urgency. And we all know that your health and your fitness is super important. But I have a question for you, and I point to all the gym owners in the room, is that I know you prioritize your physical fitness, but when it comes to your financial fitness, are you John? So there's an example of a story, right, where I'm talking to gym owners. I'm talking about the story of John, which everybody can relate to. Everybody's had a person or two like that. And then there's no urgency with your physical fitness. Now, we're all the embodiments of that. But then when it comes to your financial fitness, with what you're building and saving and investing for retirement, are you, John? Are you putting that off? Are you giving yourself that someday mentality when things are easier? When I have more cash flow in the business, or I don't really know where to start yet. When I have more time, I'll look into it, right? Once things settle down in the business, then I'll get focused on that. We all do that. Again, it's that someday mentality that killed John. That's exactly what can kill your financial future. So there's a story. It wasn't even my story. Now I told my story, my financial story later on, but story, guys, like that worked as a hook. But you could take nearly that same story as you're talking to a consultation. I can talk about John to somebody sitting across from me who's similar to John. And you know what? That's going to land.
Yeah.
Somebody who's in their 40s, 50s, 60s, who's just kicked that can down the road for 20 years. If I tell that story about John, what do you think is going to, do you think the chances of closing that person that's like him go up or down?
I mean, I'm just sitting on the other side of this conversation. I don't have any numbers in front of me, but I'm going to guess they go up.
Yeah. Yeah. Guys, and yes, we can talk about tactics or when they say this, and memorize all these things and get in reps. But I tell you what, you tell stories and you're going to watch your sales go up. You're going to watch your retention go up. Have a story for that person who's doing great, but they want to quit.
Yeah.
That happens all the time, right? All the time. The more you can tell stories, and again, it can be a story about you. It can be a story about a client. It could be a metaphor even is a method of telling a story, right? All of those things, you do that, your messages will be so powerful because when you just sit and preach at somebody or say facts that they know to be true, it doesn't hit on the same wavelength. You've got to affect them emotionally. You've got to affect them emotionally.
I'm emotional
Andy,
over here
you
now.
probably have an example of this.
I'm emotionally drained now. Yeah, no. I do. I have my own personal story, right? Like I sit across from any new lead that comes into the gym, anybody that's interested in joining my studio sits across from me for a consultation to start. And I sit across from a lot of people that are like, I've got it figured out. I just want to add 1 day of strength training in or whatever, right? So my story is always what I like to call the fat gym owner, because that's what I ended up becoming, right? Like I own a fitness studio. I'm a certified nutrition coach. I know fitness, I know nutrition. But somehow over the course of, I don't know, maybe 4 years, actually probably about 4 years, I gained 20, I gained probably 30 to 40 pounds, right? For those of you guys that have met me, I am short. I know on camera you can't see that, but I am 5'6". And I got up to like 210 pounds. Now, if that was pure muscle, that'd be one thing, but it definitely wasn't. And it wasn't like it just happened overnight. It came on slowly. It was to the point where I almost didn't notice it. And the funny thing is, I can sit here and talk about these things, and then the person sitting across from me goes, I feel that. I'm experiencing that now, right? It's like the frog that sits in the water, and then the water slowly goes up and up and up till the frog is boiled alive, because it doesn't realize, it doesn't understand what's happening. And I didn't either. I was still doing my workouts. Now, granted, my nutrition, I was not a saint by any stretch of the imagination, but I also wasn't terrible. I would say probably 80% adherence, which is better than most people. And yet I still gained 30 to 40 pounds. And that's the thing, is like life happened. I had a kid. I wasn't in my gym as much. I wasn't moving on a daily basis as much. We had a couple, really significant deaths in the family. And I remember the moment where it hit me. I remember the moment where I looked at myself and I go, what the fuck happened? I was on vacation in Mexico with my family, so with myself, my wife, and my kid. And we were at the pool, and I needed to go back to the room to grab something from the hotel room. So I'm walking from the pool, and I'm in my bathing suit, just shorts, right? I got my flip-flops on and my Hey Dudes. Which, by the way, if you've never worn a pair of Hey Dudes, highly recommend them. They're amazing. Not sponsored in any way, shape, or form. Just love them. And I was walking by this wall of mirrors, and I looked over, and I could see my stomach like hanging over my waistband. So like the waistband had rolled over. And I remember going, what happened? Like, when did I let myself go? And like, that's my personal story that I can sit across from someone, because so many people are hard on themselves. They're like, I used to be fit. I used to be in shape, but I'm not that anymore. And it's one of those things where it's like, it's hard for them, but if it's hard for me as a gym owner and I turned it around, then they can too. Like if I let myself as a gym owner get there, it gives them the excuse to go, okay, cool. Like I'm not a terrible person for doing what I did, but I can turn this around. And that's the story that I try to get across with my story. And I did turn it around. And now I've lost, 20, almost 30 pounds. I've gained muscle. I'm down to like 12% body fat. It's phenomenal. It's great. I love it. But I have that story in my back pocket. And I literally had that conversation with someone 2 days ago, and I was talking about how my stomach was like hanging over my waistband. They're like, that's where I am now. Like that's me. And that's the thing, guys, is whenever you tell a story, the whole goal is to emotionally attach that to someone so that they have that anchor and they go, I feel that. Because as we talked about in the beginning of this podcast, people make decisions based on emotion, not on logic. So yeah, I was the fat gym owner.
And how much does that person going to trust Andy when he tells that story?
Right.
Right.
Like I was vulnerable. And this is actually something that I think a lot of people don't understand, right? When it comes to building connections with people, a lot of people, their first answer, whenever I ask anybody, I'm like, what is the number one thing that builds connection between people? The people's almost immediate response is communication. And I'm like, no, it's not. To build trust, you need vulnerability. You need to be vulnerable with the person sitting across from you. This is why things like team sports and the military work so well, is because if you're in the shit with somebody else, mm-hmm. and you have to trust them to have their back, and you have to be vulnerable and say, dude, if you don't have my back, if I don't trust you, I am dead. It builds relationships like no other business.
Yeah. It's shared experiences.
Yeah.
If we zoom it out, like shared experience. And why is it, as we get older, right, and we have friendships, this and that, they're not as deep, right, as the ones you had with kids. Like there's bonds that I have, with guys that I grew up with that I don't have with other people in certain ways, right? And again, some of them aren't even people I would be friends with today, right? Just because we've just totally, but we still, like I'd still do anything for that person, because when you're growing up and you're in that emotional, those ages, like you go through so much shit together. You go through many shared experiences of getting in trouble or this or that or the other, that it creates a bond that's just there. And even with my good high school buddy, one who's popping in my head right now, but also I really realized that in the military too, because he was an Army Ranger. I never met these guys ever, right? But at his wedding, I did meet these guys. It's the only wedding I made it back to in Chicago at all, because I was too broke to do it when I moved out here. But yet the bond that they have, you can see, like they hadn't seen each other in 5 years, but it's like it was just yesterday.
Yep.
Right. It's one of those things, because it's those shared experiences and pains and traumas and stuff like that. And when you share some of yours, people will feel way more connected with you, way more trusting of you, because you're leveling with them. And this is what works against us when every single time we have a consultation, and they're scared to come in because they think it's going to be some Billy Blanks dude, some boot camp dude who's going to yell at them with, his jacked, ripped, right, and just rip them to shreds and make them feel like shit, right? And they're just worried about that. They fear being judged. They fear they fear that they're going to be the only ones out of shape. They fear that they're going to be seen as weak because they struggle with food. All of these things. And if you can let them know that, like, I do too, it's one thing to say, oh yeah, I struggle with those things too, just like anybody else. Okay, sure, whatever. You're sitting there in shape and I'm not. It's not even going to register. You can't just tell it. Share it through a story.
Right. You can't just say, oh, I understand. If you share it through a story, it shows how vulnerable you are. There's this saying in sales. I don't love the saying, but I understand the concept behind it. If they cry, they buy, right? Because again, going back to emotion. But here's the deal, guys. If you cry, it has the same effect.
Yeah. Very true. Very true. Yeah. And guys, don't overthink this. A story can be 2 minutes, but it can also be like 2 or 3 sentences.
Yeah. It doesn't need to be long.
It can be small. Right. And when people struggle with something with food, right, that they just, once they open up a bag of chips, they eat the whole thing and all that kind of stuff. Like I got my own vice too. Like it's Oreos, I can't do I'll just have 2 or 3 thing. Right? Yep. On a double stuffed Oreo, no, it's going to be 2 or 3 rows. 2 or 3 rows.
I've got a story about Thin Mints and how I put them on the countertop. And because they were in a glass jar, every single time I walked by the kitchen, I grabbed one. That story resonates with people because they do the same thing.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm like, if I don't finish the 3rd row that night when I buy them, I'll finish it for the 3rd row for breakfast in the morning, which gets people to laugh, right?
Right.
But
exactly.
It's totally the truth. And they know what I'm talking about, because whether it's double stuffed or it's Thin Mints or something else, they know.
Yeah.
And that story takes 15 seconds.
Yeah.
But we can now connect on a much deeper level.
One of the biggest things in sales is always building rapport. you can't build rapport faster than telling stories.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And so forget tactics and like, oh, when they give these objections, say exactly that. Those things can help and stuff like that, right? Yeah. But man, I tell you what, 90+% of that is not needed. If you can just tell some stories, your stories, stories of other clients that will inspire them, anything, guys, big or small, it'll work. And it's not just on sales, but it's on fulfillment, right? It's whether you're trying to get a referral, whether you're trying to get a client story, whether you're trying to get a renewal, right? Whether they're struggling and you just need to get them a little bit of extra motivation to get back on the path. And just the coaching. Stories win the game, period.
And if you guys want help figuring out how to weave stories into your sales scripts or renewal scripts, or even just like your client check-ins, reach out to us. Love to hop on a call, 30 minutes. We'll kind of my brain is not working. We will pull the stories out. We will figure out how to weave them in. I wanted to say like diagnose or whatever, but that wasn't the right word. And figure it out for you guys so that, because here's the thing is like when you first start doing it, it doesn't feel natural, right? You feel like you're forcing a story or whatever. We can train you guys. We'll help you try to figure out what stories to say based on what instances are happening in the situation and how to weave them in a very, very unique and just easy way to do it. So shoot us an email, scott@theprofitlifestyle.com, Andrew@theprofitlifestyle.com. We'd love to hop on a call and help you guys out.
Absolutely, guys. Thank you so much for listening to this week. Like, share, subscribe, do that whole kind of thing. And we will see you next week on The Profit Lifestyle. Listen, if you're stuck and could use some advice in your business, whether you're just starting out, a veteran in the business, or expanding online or into multiple locations, you can hop on a free call with us to pick our brains at ptlegends.com/one-on-one call. You can see that in the show notes. That is with numbers. Chances are we'll be able to help you get some clarity on what you need to do specifically in your business to get to the next level. It's not a sales call. We'll connect you with the right resources to help you solve your problems. But if you want to learn more about working with us, that's cool too. We can share that information should you want it. So book your call now to get out of the rat race before your week consumes you, which is easy to do at ptlegends.com/one-on-one call. That's with the number 1 on the number 1 call. You can find this in the show notes. See you soon.